voice in matters that affect their life. Our gathering here at the Youth Town Hall give an exclusive opportunity to listen to them. I repeat, to listen to them. As we all agree, and as already stated, it is very important to hear their concerns, challenges, and hopes, so as to enrich our discussion as we are charting the way towards improving agribusiness for the young population. It is an opportune time for our governments to engage in discussion with youth and women on barriers and bottlenecks that prevent them from embracing agriculture as a productive sector that could enable them on their lives. We could as well get to know the challenges faced by those involved in agribusiness and the proposed possible solutions. As a host, allow me to narrate a story of agricultural program for youth in Tanzania. This country developed an agenda to make agriculture sector contributing by 10% to the Tanzanian GDP by 2030. In order to implement the agenda, we created a program called Building a Better Tomorrow for Tanzanian Youth. The main goal of BBT being to enhance the engagement of youth in the agriculture sector for sustainable and improved livelihoods, while contributing to the current efforts to reduce unemployment. Your Excellencies, the strategic objective of BBT are the following. 1, to inspire youth to engage in sustainable and profitable projects through crop production, livestock keeping, and fisheries. 2, empower youth through training, mentoring, and coaching. 3, engage youth in profitable and sustainable agribusiness management. And 4, enable youth-led enterprises by improving business environment. As a national program, BBT was formulated through participation of government, researchers, private sector, youth themselves, and development partners. Major intention is to address challenges facing youth and women, which include access to land, limited financing, marketing challenges, and issues of inappropriate technology. The program envisages to create 3 million direct and indirect jobs by 2030, and in addition, during the same period, BBT is expected to cause the establishment of 12,000 profitable youth enterprises. Since its inception in 2022, BBT has successfully recruited 1,252 youth and women, and so far 812 have been enrolled to undertake a 4-month agribusiness training in 13 incubation centers for crops and 240 for livestock and 200 for fisheries. In crop subsector, youth and women will be allocated up to 10 acres of land under 66 years sub-leasing arrangement to be carried out in a farm cluster model. For purposes of improvement or improving youth agricultural business along the value chains, Tanzania shilling 10.7 billion have been set aside for the provision of grants and soft loans to them. There already exist positive indications that youth can be a center for food systems transformation in our country. This is possible only if the government is assured of a genuine support and the commitment of the private sector and other players like development partners. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, that said, let me assure this August gathering that Tanzania is determined to promote agricultural sector for not only its own benefit, but also for Africa and beyond. Having said that, let us now hear what the youth have to say and what the youth have to hear from our governments. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Please take the seat in the middle. Thank you. Without further ado, let me call the people on stage that will be representing, of course, the brilliance that is the younger population in Africa and around the world. Ms. Hadija Jabiri is the Managing Director and Founder, Jabiri Limited. Please, round of applause. Ms. Nancy Iraba, Co-Founder and CTO of Healthy Seaweed Company. Ms. Janira Rodriguez Torres, the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network in Bolivia. And George Ndirango, Communications MasterCard Foundation. All right, here we go. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, throughout about 30 to 40% of your remarks mentioned young people, youth, young people, youth. Meaning it's not by chance that you see young people as a recognizable part of what Agri-Food Systems is trying to do and your ambitions also within what's happening in Tanzania and for the region. So we appreciate you very much for that. The young people will all ask you one specific question, and then we'll get to hear your feedback on the same before we move on with the agenda. But let's please start off with you, Ms. Hadija.
Your Excellence, my name is Hadija Jabiri. I'm a co-founder and managing director of Eat Fresh Tanzania. We are into production, value addition, as well as marketing of horticultural produce locally as well and exporting to EU countries and India. Your Excellence, being a young person myself in the agriculture sector and running an incubation hub for the youth in the agriculture sector, among the challenges which I see youth experiencing is access to market. So my question to you is, how can governments promote market access and value addition for youth produced agricultural products, helping them to overcome challenges related to distribution and marketing as well?
Thank you very much, and I thank you, the moderator, for setting this stage for discussion. And since I'll be delivering my message to the Tanzanian and East African youth, and probably, I'm sure, the Malawi, Zambia, Mozambique, and others are following this session. So, in order for my message to go clearly to the youth, allow me to use the national language, Swahili, because Swahili is because the language is used in the whole of East Africa and also the neighboring countries. So here I go. Swala la masoko. Kwenye swala la masoko ni kweli kwamba kuna shida katika kupatikana masoko, lakini katika tafiti tulizofanya tumegundua kwamba kuna mambo mawili ambayo yana utata na tunayafanyia kazi. La kwanza ni connection ya kwanza kujua kwanza tunasema food balance sheet. requirements, bidhaa gani inatakiwa wapi, ndani na nje ya nchi. Tukijua hilo, tunajua exactly kinachozalishwa upande mmoja kiende upande mwingine, lakini ndani na nje ya nchi kama nilivyosema. Lakini la pili ni connection ya mkulima na soko lenyewe. Hatujaifanya vizuri bado. Tumeanza kufanya kwenye baadhi ya mazao, kwa mfano korosho, na tumeshuhudia mara kadhaa bei ya korosho ikipanda kwa sababu tunamwattach ushirika wa mkulima pamoja na mnunuaji moja kwa moja. Tunamuondosha mtu wa katikati ambaye baadhi ya wakati anakwenda moja kwa moja kwa mkulima kununua bidhaa zikiwa shambani na ananunua kwa bei ndogo. Lakini tulivyofanya connection, kuunganisha mkulima na soko, wanunuaji wananunua kwenye vyama vya ushirika vya wakulima, na kwa maana hiyo wanapata muda wa kushindana bei na bei zinapanda. Tumeshuhudia hivi karibuni ufuta kwa mfano sisem, kwa sababu tumeingiza kwenye ushirika na tumetumia mfumo wa stakabadhi ghalani. Wakulima wanapeleka mazao yao kwenye ushirika, wanunuaji wanashindanishwa, bei inapanda na bidhaa yote inakwenda kwa bei nzuri. Lakini kilichotokea na cha kufurahisha hivi karibuni ni zao la mbaazi pia. Mbaazi, kama mtakumbuka, miaka miwili mitatu nyuma tulihamasisha wakulima walime sana mbaazi, wakalima sana mbaazi. Lakini kwa sababu hatukuwa connect na soko, hatukuwa na mipango mizuri, mbaazi ilianguka sana bei na kuwavunja moyo wakulima. Mwaka jana mbaazi iliuzwa kwa shilingi 300 kwa kilo, lakini mwaka huu wakulima wameuza kwa 2,000 na 2,000 na kwa kilo. Sasa huu ndio mtito tutakao kwenda nao kwenye mazao mengine pia, kumuunganisha mkulima na soko. Lakini hatua nyingine tunayochukua ni nini? Market is about transport. Usafiri ndio unaleta soko, na kwa maana hiyo serikali yetu tumejidhatiti kujenga barabara kuunganisha mikoa na wilaya zake, lakini pia barabara kubwa na nchi jirani ili kuaccess masoko ya nchi jirani. Lakini sio barabara peke yake. Na nikirudi kwenye barabara, mwaka jana na mwaka huu tumetoa pesa nyingi sana kutengeneza barabara za ndani ya wilaya ili mazao yasikwame kwa wakulima, yaende kwenye masoko. Lakini sio barabara peke yake, tunatengeneza bandari zetu Tanzania. Bandari ya Dar es Salaam, bandari ya Zanzibar, bandari ya Tanga, bandari ya Mtwara, zote ziweze kupokea meli zinazoweza kuja kushusha farm inputs na kuchukua mazao yanayozaliwa kwenda nje, na tumefanikiwa vizuri. Lakini kama mnavyoelewa, tumenunua ndege ya mizigo iweze kusafirisha mazao, hasa yale ambayo Hadija huko involved, horticulture. Tunajua yale mazao hayakai muda mrefu, kwa hiyo kwa ndege ile sasa tuweza kuchukua mzigo wetu wenyewe kupeleka kwenye soko letu kuliko kutegemea kwa jirani apakie apeleke, na hatujui wakati wa packing pengine mazao yale yanaandikwa yametoka kwa jirani, kumbe yametoka Tanzania. Kwa sasa ndege yetu itaweza kutusafirishia mazao yetu. Pale bandarini tunajenga the green belt, sehemu ambayo itaweza kuhifadhi perishable goods, mazao ambayo yanaharibika kwa haraka yaweze kuhifadhiwa haraka yakisubiri usafiri. Kwa hiyo tunachukua hatua zote hizo ili kumfikisha mkulima, kufikisha mazao kwenye soko. Lakini jengine kubwa ambalo tunafanya, na hasa kwenye program hii ya BBT, ni kutafuta off-takers, kufanya ushirika na off-takers, wale ambao vijana wakisha kulima wamevuna, kuwe na mtu ambaye atachukua mazao yote na kuyapeleka, kuyaongeza thamani kwenye viwanda, kuyaprocess na yaweze kwenda yakiwa yameshachakatwa. Kwa hiyo hizo ndizo hatua ambazo serikali yetu tumejicommit kuzichukua, tumezichukua na tunaendelea kuzichukua ili kutengeneza soko zuri kwa wakulima wetu. Asante.
Asante sana. Thanks. So we're hearing about market linkage, cost adjustments, logistics and connectivity. There's a wide range of solutions that are very deliberate. Thank you for the practical examples. Let's hear from Ms. Janira Rodriguez Torres from the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network in Bolivia.
Her Excellency, can you hear me? Yeah, thank you. Her Excellency, I am Janira Rodriguez from Bolivia. I am a development economist, and also I am so passionate about sustainable agriculture and food security. And also I am an ambassador of the Next Generation Agriculture Impact Network, ENGINE. So in that sense, I would really like to know, how does the government plan to measure and track the impact of youth involvement in SDGs? Because all these sessions about youth, they were talking about their ideas, their solutions, and I really think that the Africa we want need youth to revolutionize it. So I always say that if you don't measure something, we can improve it. So in that sense, I also want to know if you have some indicators to demonstrate this progress that you are having with the youth involvement in agriculture. Thank you.
Asante sana. Nadhani swali lilikuwa nataka kujua serikali tunajipangaje kwa kutumia ICT kwenye kilimo, na tuna demonstrate vipi au tunaonesha vipi vijana ili kuwavuta kuja kwenye sekta ya kilimo. Sasa kwa upande wa Tanzania, hatua tunazochukua, kwanza ni kubali kwamba katika karne tulionayo, ICT au hizi taarifa za kutumia mitandao na technology au teknolojia ya kisasa haiepukiki. Ili tuweze kuwavuta vijana, lazima tuwe na system hizo, ndio vijana waweze kuingia kwenye sekta ya kilimo. Na ni lazima tuwatoe ile fikra kwamba kilimo ni kazi ngumu. Kwa teknoloji inakwenda kurahisisha kilimo kwa vijana. Sasa Tanzania tumefanyaje? Tanzania kwanza tumejua kwamba kilimo ni kujua taarifa zake. Na kwa maana hiyo tunawekeza sana kwenye research, tafiti, na kwenye tafiti tunafanya katika maeneo yote: kilimo, ufugaji na uvuvi. Kwenye kilimo tumejielekeza sana kwenye kwanza kujua afya ya udongo. Kujua afya ya udongo, lakini kabla hiyo kujua afya ya udongo, kwanza tuwe na database ya wakulima. Tumjue mkulima ni nani. Tuwe na register ya wakulima. Ndipo tutakapoweza kutoa huduma nzuri. Kwa hiyo kwa kutumia ICT tunaendelea kufanya registration ya wakulima, aina ya kilimo wanachofanya, eneo alilo nalo na mambo mengine yanayomhusu mkulima. Lakini pia ili mkulima huyo aweze kufanya vizuri na ili tuweze kutoa extension service, huduma za ugani zinazoeleweka, lazima tujue mkulima yuko kwenye hali gani pale alipo. Kwa hiyo tumewawezesha mabwana na mabibi ugani extension officers na kits ambazo zinawawezesha kupima afya ya udongo. Kwa hiyo kila mkulima atakuwa anapimiwa afya yake ya udongo kutoka muda mmoja kwenda muda mwingine, na kujua kwa uhalisia anatakiwa kutumia mbolea aina gani, mbegu za aina gani. Lakini la pili, tumejiingiza kwenye kuongeza uzalishaji wa mbegu za kisasa, hybrid seeds. Tumeweza kuimarisha vituo vyetu vya utafiti, lakini mashamba ya uzalishaji mbegu kwa kiwango kikubwa. Tumeinvesti kule ili wazalishe mbegu sana, na tuna mifano. Kwa mfano kule Arusha kuna taasisi ya mtu binafsi inazalisha mbegu na inagawa, nadhani inaitwa Meru, kampuni binafsi. Lakini kuna na wengine. Vituo vyetu vya serikali na vyenyewe tumeviwezesha na tunategemea ikifika 2025 labda robo tatu ya mbegu zitakazotumika hapa nchini zizalishwe hapa nchini, kama sio kujitegemea kabisa. Na ni mbegu ambazo certified, na ni mbegu ambazo zinahimili mabadiliko ya hali ya hewa, lakini pia zinaendana na hali ya udongo tulionao. Lakini la tatu, tunatumia ICT kwenye masuala ya umwagiliaji. Kama unavyotambua, zamani tukisema umwagiliaji ni kumwagilia hasa, ni kuchukua maji na kuyamwaga kwenye udongo ili mazao yaje kama inavyomwaga mvua. Lakini sasa tunamwagilia kwa kutumia utaalamu wa teknolojia ya kitaalamu, ambayo mti unakwenda kumwagiliwa kwa maji yanayotakiwa na muda unaotakiwa. Lakini pia kujua kwamba udongo ulio nao, aina ya udongo uliopo pahali, unahitaji maji kiasi hiki na sio kiasi hiki. Na hii pia itatusaidia kufanya matumizi mazuri ya maji tulionayo. Lakini tunakwenda kutumia ICT pia kwenye kuhifadhi mazao ya wakulima. Tunajenga vihenge vya kisasa ambavyo vina mitambo ya kurekebisha au kuregulate moisture, ule mvuke, na kuepusha lile tatizo la kuwa na sumukuvu kwenye mazao yetu. Tunakwenda kufanya hivyo kwa kutumia ICT. Kwa hiyo tunakwenda kutumia ICT pia kwenye marketing. Lazima tujue taarifa za demand and supply, matakwa na ugavi wa mazao yanayozaliwa ndani ya nchi. Kwa hiyo ni kweli kwamba ICT haiepukiki, lakini hata teknoloji ya kutayarisha mashamba. Tulizoea matrekta bugia hapo pagumu weka, lakini vyombo vinavyokuja sasa hivi, mitambo inayokuja sasa hivi ni ya kisasa na ndio itakayotumika kwenye BBT program. Kijana ajisikie fahari anaendesha trekta ambalo liko automated. Anakwenda kuendesha combine harvester ambayo iko automated. Inafanya mambo mawili matatu, sio kuvuna tu, lakini pengine kupembua mazao mazuri na mazao mabaya na kuweza kuweka sehemu mbalimbali. Kwa hiyo ICT haiepukiki, na serikali yetu tumejidhatiti, tuko committed kuelekea huko. Asante sana. I think you got the translation part of it. Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Kuna swali la pili alilouliza, how do you track the impact of young people being involved in agriculture?
Okay, I think here we talk of, tutazungumzia indicators. Tutajuaje kama BBT imefanikiwa? Ni indicators. Indicator ya mwanzo ni number of youth involved in the program. Kama ilivyosemwa hapa, tayari tuna watu 1200 lakini we have maombi mengi sana kutoka kwa vijana kutaka kuingia kwenye hii program. Kwa hiyo indicator ya kwanza ni vijana kuvutika na program yenyewe. Indicator ya pili nadhani itakuwa ni the way tunavyotumia mbolea, fertilizer consumption. Jinsi inavyotumika sana, tunajua vijana wameelewa na wanafanya good agriculture practices, and so wanatumia hiyo mbolea kwa wingi sana. Kwa hiyo consumption ya mbolea itatupa indication kwamba kuna positive impact. Lakini ya tatu, productivity, tija itakayopatikana kwenye kile kilimo ambacho vijana watakuwa involved. Na indicator nyingine nadhani soko, jinsi utakavyoweza kupeleka hayo mazao sokoni, na jinsi vijana watakavyoona wana improve maisha yao. Ile ndiyo indicator kubwa sasa. Maisha ya vijana yanavyoendelea kustawi, hiyo ndiyo indicator kubwa sasa. Lakini indicator nyingine ni kuona tunashusha food inflation ya chakula ndani ya nchi. Kama production itakuwa kubwa, bila shaka bei za chakula zitashuka. Na kama tunavyojua, food basket ndio inasababisha inflation kubwa kwenye nchi. Kwa hiyo tukiweza kushusha food basket inflation, tutakuwa ni indicator nzuri sana kwamba vijana wanazalisha kwa wingi. Asante sana.
Miss Nancy, let's hear the last question from you.
Your Excellency, first of all, I think you can hear my heart beats from here. One of my dreams is coming true, seeing you face to face. So I'm really happy to see you. My name is Nancy Raba. I'm a marine scientist and a dive master. I can go up to 40 meters deep, so I'm happy to take you to the ocean anytime when you're ready.
Wow.
And I'm a co-founder and CEO of Healthy Seaweed Company Limited, in which we are innovating different seaweed for food to allow people to include seaweed in their diet. So we are making revolutionary dietary for seaweed foods for people to include in their diet, because Tanzania, we're the first largest producer of seaweed. Why not consuming it? So that is what my company is standing for. And I'm also part of Generation Africa Fellowship. I was part of the Go-Getters last year in Rwanda. So I'm very proud that with your leadership, we're having HRIF in Tanzania this year. And coming to my point, because I'm a Tanzanian mermaid, so I'll go to the blue economy. So as we know that Africa has a great ocean line, approximately 30 kilometers long. Given the importance of technology and innovation in blue economy, how can government provide access to technology, research, and data that can empower young entrepreneurs in the agriculture sector? Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, for that very technical and good question. Blue economy ni kwa Tanzania ni sekta mpya. Na Tanzania bara ndio sasa tunaanza kudevelop sera ya blue economy. Lakini kwa Zanzibar tayari wamesha develop sera na wameanza kutekeleza. Sasa wakati tuna develop sera ya blue economy, Zanzibar could be a good model kwa sisi kusoma. Sasa kwa wenzetu Zanzibar walichokifanya ni kwamba wameanza swala la blue economy, aqua culture, aqua farming muda mrefu sana, lakini wameanza wakiwa hawana mwamko mkubwa. Ukulima wa mwani kwa mfano, lakini pia research ya viumbe vya baharini ambavyo vinatoweka wameanza kufanya muda mrefu, na sasa wameanza kuvuna matunda ya hizo research. Kwenye mwani kwa mfano, Zanzibar kule sasa hivi kwa kutumia technology ya sasa hivi wanaweza kutengeneza mwani. Kwanza wanauza kwenye soko la nje, wana add value na kuuza kwenye soko la nje, wanaongeza thamani na kuuza soko la nje. Lakini la pili, wanatengeneza bidhaa zinazotokana na mwani. Nimeona cosmetics zinazotokana na mwani, nimeona madawa yanayotokana na mwani, na wanafanya mambo tofauti tofauti kwa kutumia technology ambayo sofa wanayo. Lakini nimeshuhudia pia kwenye utafiti wa viumbe vya baharini, kuna viumbe vinaitwa chaza au oysters ambao karibu walikuwa wanatoweka, na nimeona kazi nzuri ya Marine Science Institute ambao wamefanya utafiti na wamerudisha baharini vile viumbe. Lakini viumbe vile vina toa kitu kinaitwa pearl au lulu, and so chaza ambazo zinapandikizwa zinatoa hiyo lulu, na wametrain vikundi vya wanawake kuvuna chaza, kutoa hizo pearls na kutengeneza jewelries. Kwa hiyo nimeona mwenyewe. Lakini jengine nini? Kwa kutumia technology wameweza kurudisha baharini au kwenye maeneo yanayotengezwa maalum ya vijana kitu kinaitwa majongoo ya pwani au sea cucumber. Wameweza kuyarudisha viumbe ambao vilisha vanish. Huko nyuma ilikuwa ni soko kubwa kwa bidhaa kubwa kwa Zanzibar kuuza ulimwenguni, hasa Asia. lakini ilimalizika, na sasa wameweza kurudisha. Na sasa vijana kwa kutumia teknolojia ya kisasa wanazalisha sea cucumbers au majongoo yale, na wanauza kwa kiasi kikubwa. Soko ni kubwa, vijana wetu wanaweza kuingia kwenye hiyo na wakapata ajira na wakaweza kujenga maisha yao vizuri. Sasa kwa upande mwingine, unajua ukizungumza swala la blue economy ni concept kubwa, ni jambo lenye mambo mengi ndani yake. Blue economy ni aquaculture, aqua farming. Blue economy ni transportation kwenye maji, maziwa, bahari. Vijana wanaweza kujiingiza kwenye miradi ya usafiri. Lakini blue economy ni tourism. Kwa mfano kule Zanzibar kwenye kijiji ninachotoka kuna dolphin wako baharini, na vijana wengi kwa kutumia boti za kisasa wanapakia watalii, wanakwenda kuwapeleka kucheza na dolphin, and they are earning their income na maisha yanaendelea. So blue economy is a vast. Kama Tanzania, kama serikali tunajipanga kutumia maji yetu tuliojaliwa na Mungu, bahari na maziwa, ili yajenge ajira, yatengeneze ajira na yajenge maisha ya vijana wetu. Asante sana.
Thank you tremendously. It's not every day you have the premier of countries sit with young people deliberately and just speak, just hearing them out, taking the time to just respond to the questions. So we really do appreciate it. And of course, Dr. Agnes Kalibata for pushing for AGRA to be that particular platform where such conversations can be had. So as the young people go to their seats, please, Your Excellency, please just stay in your seat. As they go back to their seats, let's give them a fantastic round of applause. Anyone to take pictures, please? Janira, Nancy, Khadija, congratulations and thank you. Thank you very much. All right. In my hands are the names of the two finalists. The winners, actually. In my hand, the winners of the Go-Getters Awards. Please allow me to call back on stage Honorable Minister for Agriculture and the CEO of Yaras Vein. Please join me on stage. To the young people, the finalists, this is your time. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? Show of hands. 10? All the best, all the best. Okay. I just want you to confirm that this has not been opened. Excellency, Madam President, unaona transparency?
It has not been tampered.
It has not been tampered with. Fantastic. So we will start off with the male winner. Yes, please open. Let's all in the room give drum rolls, please. And the winner is?
The winner is Ikena Nzewi, Relief Marketplace, Nigeria.
All right. Okay. I know we'll get the certificates in just a second, and then we'll get the pictures with Her Excellency. Let's hear who the lady is. So we have one gentleman and one young lady who make up the winners. And the winner is, wait, drum rolls.
Okay, so the grand prize female winner is Hasina Andriatachina from Madarom of Madagascar. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Please join us on stage. Let's kindly have the certificates. Thank you. Please, let's all kindly join. Yeah. Let's take those. The winners kindly go to it's your time. Svein and the Honorable Minister already won in life. It's okay. It's your time, please. We'll hand the certificates to as we wait for the pictures, let's just hear, just like an award show. How you're the one who said you feel like 10 out of 10, and now you're here. How do you feel?
I was surprised, really surprised right now.
We'll give it a bit to settle in. What about you?
It's an honor to be here. I'm very, very excited about this, to bring this back to our company and our team that are doing the hard work in the field. Great to be here.
Fantastic. Let me get out of your way. Please take your pictures. Let's kindly have, please, His Excellency, the Vice President, join us on stage. Dr. Agnes Kalibata, please join us on stage as well as we take our final pictures. Everyone else except the two superstars kindly exit the stage. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, you are. We appreciate you very much. We appreciate your time. We cannot express our gratitude enough for having a youth town hall session that dedicates it to the youth. So we hope that everything goes according to plan, and we wish you the very best. Thank you. Right. So we've had a game we played at the beginning. We've heard from Her Excellency. We've seen the dignitaries. We've heard from the young people. We've given their words. Safe to say we had a fantastic opening session. We really appreciate your time. I've been your moderator and host, George Indirango. Thank you very much for indulging me for the last couple of minutes. Thank you. My dear colleague, over to you.
May I ask you to give a big round of applause to the young people in the room. Since I arrived in Tanzania, I've been practicing how to greet in the morning, and I think I got it. Jambo, habari, aza, usibuyi. I am sure I made a mistake somewhere out there, but it doesn't hurt to try. My name is Ibrahima Sheikh Diong. I am from the beautiful country of Senegal. Good morning to all of you. Good morning. Bonjour, bon dia, assalamu alaikum. I'd like to express a warm welcome to all of you to the conversation we're about to have, which we call the intergenerational conversation on food security and nutrition in Africa, which is a very important topic as we make sure that no one is left behind when it comes to food security. I also have the opportunity to interact with some of the heads of state and heads of government. We call them the Council of the Wise. And I think I've gotten much wiser in just listening to their experience and the lessons learned. And that is an opportunity to give you to hear from them directly. But before we get started, it is my distinguished honor, and I hope he's in the room, to invite the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia to come on stage to deliver an opening remark before we invite other speakers to join us on stage. I can see that the former Prime Minister is not here, so we'll have to improvise until he gets here to make sure we actually have his opening remarks before we get to the conversation. So what I'd like to do now, just to invite Dr. Ismail Eliwafi, who is the Chief Scientist at the FAO. All right, so a change of plan. We're going to have just a 5 minutes break to transition as we get our dignitary and former heads of state to come back to the room. Some of our speakers. So I think I'll ask the production just to put some music as we wait for the heads of state to join us. Thank you. Good morning again. Bonjour. Bon dia. Assalamu alaikum. Jambo, as they say in Tanzania, but also in Kenya. My name is Ibrahima Sheikh Diong. I am United Nations Assistant Secretary General and the Director General of the African Race Capacity Group. My name is Ibrahima Sheikh Diong, and as I said earlier, I'm a UN Assistant Secretary General and the Director General of African Race Capacity. I've been informed that Madam President will come back at some point to greet the elders, the Council of the Wise, former heads of states of government of Africa, who have so much experience to share with us. I can tell you, having interacted with some of them, I've become much wiser before this session, and I have no doubt will benefit from the experience for having run a government in our country for a number of years. Welcome to the session on food security and nutrition security in Africa. We're going to delve into the leadership, the lessons learned. More importantly, what can we benefit from these lessons to make sure we can build a secure Africa when it comes to food. And I'm just seeing Madam President joining us to greet our elders before we get to our session. Madam President, welcome. Give a round of applause. So let's give a round of applause, Madam President, as she exits the room. At this junction, it is my distinguished honor to invite on stage former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, the chair of AGRF Partners Group, for his opening remarks. Mr. Prime Minister, you can give him a round of applause.
Excellencies, my fellow former heads of state and government, Excellencies, leaders in your distinguished capacities, I warmly welcome each of you as gathered today to address one of the most pressing challenges of our time, the interaction of food systems and climate change. It is an honor to convene this esteemed group whose collective wisdom and leadership have shaped the continent's political and economic agenda. The urgency of our discussion cannot be overstated. Our systems, which sustain our populations and economies, stand at a critical juncture. Simultaneously, the effects of climate change are increasingly evident, and pose an existential threat to our planet and our people. These two issues are inextricably linked, and our moral and ethical duty is to act decisively. There is a South African proverb that says, I quote, "It is not the what, but the how that make or break you." End of quotation. And I do find myself reflecting heavily on the proverb based on my experience in my own country, Ethiopia. First, without political commitment, nothing was going to move. Secondly, our agriculture and food systems would not advance without people and communities at the center. Therefore, human capability and providing opportunities should come at the front. Finally, without adequate reasoning in research and resourcing in research, data, and finance, we would not be able to realize our vision for feeding and nourishing our people while providing sustainable livelihoods and watching over the environment. In essence, it's not the challenge of food security or climate change that will make or break us. It is how we respond and adopt to them nationally and collectively as an African continent. There are several mechanisms that we continue to use as
from leaders in your countries. We're going to spend some time talking about collaboration, but also how you define a balance. Was that a priority in our countries? But let me start with the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia. Looking back at your time as a Prime Minister in your country at food security, if you could just share with us some of the lessons that you learned, given that all of you have to allocate budget and resources and set policies. Let me start from you and listen to your experience as Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, moderator. I think from my own experience, the first and most important thing is to change the mindset of our people that they are able to produce, they are able to change the lives they are living in, and they have the potential to do that. And our main problem, compared with other continents in Africa, is the problem of human capability. And if we can address that human capability starting from the mindset, and then giving technical and, leadership know-how, leadership even in the household. I'm saying one single farming household needs leadership, and we have to start from there, where the family has to work together. Africans, we work as a family. And we focused on family farm because usually women are neglected when the production system in our African farming is considered. But they are the most core of the production in our system. So we focused as a family, giving them the necessary skills, mindset, and also resources at the grassroots. We deployed more than 70,000 extension workers. In each village, 4 extension workers who are able to train, skill, and give them demonstrations that can help them understand the new technologies and adaptation of that technology. That helped a lot. And the second one is, I said in my speech, people and communities at the center. Our lands are very much degraded in Ethiopia, especially in the northern part of Ethiopia. We were able in the last 10 years to reclaim and restore our land by soil and water conservation works that communities themselves were able to produce. A simple example of bench terrace was able to reclaim the soil. The soil health is very important for us. And by so doing, I think we were able to bring back streams and rivers, even the rivers back, which disappeared for so long period of time, by just intervening into natural systems there. So that has helped us with all the complication of climate change, that our smallholder farmers can produce and produce at scale. And we made also a consolidation. We call it agricultural commercialization cluster. As you can see recently, that the wheat production in our country has gone very much well. With this only, Ethiopia was able to be standing high at even maize production. Our productivity, average productivity has been...
Questions. Looking back at your time as Prime Minister, what are some of the lessons that we learned in this food security before we move on to Gida as well? Mr. Prime Minister.
Yes, thank you. Bonjour à tous. Maybe 2-3 mots en français parce que...
On peut passer de l'anglais au français si vous le désirez, Monsieur le Premier ministre.
L'Afrique parle aussi un peu français. I've been a banker before becoming a Prime Minister. Then I've been a banker after having been Prime Minister. And I will concur with the Chairman. Leadership is essential. Mindset is important. And I think that the African leadership is more and more committed and fully aware, and after COVID, plus food price inflation, Ukraine war, it's even quite clear that we have as a continent to safeguard and build our resilience because we receive exogenous shocks and we cannot just rely on the rest of the world. And what is fascinating in Agra is that it is the way, the field, where the house, where you can build together, where you can exchange, where you can use African solutions to African problems, compare and build common strategies and best practices. And I think it's very important because it will be a self-effort if we want to safeguard some food security given the challenges and all those shocks coming from elsewhere, essentially. We are for nothing in the climate change impact on Africa, which is the worst in the world probably, the most immediate. I mean, if Africa was the model in the world will be colder and colder and not warmer, and we would not be impacted. So we receive those shocks, and we have commonly to act. But as a banker, I have the feeling that we have to be serving our farmers, and as members of governments, help them to and not inhibit them, because sometimes when I see the legal framework, I think we have a lot of work a lot of things to perform and succeed in. We are not good in terms of ownership of land, of women, for instance, in many countries or in many provinces of my country. That could have been treated before. It's urgent to make sure that we create the proper legal framework. And we know from sister countries how to act, but we have to implement that. Another example, we have been inspired in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, our immense neighbor, under President Goodluck Jonathan's mandate, by the efficiency, the renewed efficiency of subsidies for inputs, for seeds, for the farmers to buy seeds and inputs, using market tools and through digital money, spreading vouchers in order for the farmers to be able themselves to choose the timing when they want to use this subsidy, and the supplier, and the quality, because not one size fits all, and so on. And we found in 2 years how much this unlocked efficiency. Right. So now we are inspired in that. We have a president in Benin who is a specialist of fertilizers. He has built his personal private business in fertilizers. I don't know if it's the reason why, since I've left the government, the progress has been so quick, but in effect, Benin has doubled the output of cotton, maize, and cassava in 6 years. Right. So, but a lot with the state, considering that it has to make people freer and using the market. And last thing, in terms of industrial policy and logistics, everything which is not purely in agriculture itself upstream, but downstream, has been put in place. In 3 years from now, it will be prohibited to export soy and cassava in raw form. It will have to be transformed and manufactured. And what we are observing as we speak with the first factories in place is that when you have a full value chain and when you have secured the off-takers, the yield through mid-long-term contracts of the small farmers are completely unlocked. And you see cassava from 8 tons by hectare to 40 tons by hectare, because it is safe, it's long-term, off-taking has been secured. The same people on the same land, with a bit of support, obviously, and logistical support in order to reduce the losses, les pertes au bord du champ. And we are very confident that the same people will unlock with trade, with proper supply chain, and a more efficient government administration using the market tools. We are very, very optimistic on safeguarding food security.
I have the most difficult task is to be polite vis-a-vis former heads of state and government and not to interrupt them. But I think you underscore 2 points that are equally important. That's leadership, as you said earlier, but also market-driven policies, which will delve a little bit more into the solutions. I'm going to move away from Benin to Guinea. For your information, the former Prime Minister of Guinea was the Director General of the organization I'm running today, so I replaced him at the African Minister capacity just because of that. Give a big round of applause. And former Prime Minister, I'm going to switch gear a little bit and get into a topic which I know is dear to you, and that is if you look at the sector within Africa, there's so many different players, so many actors, both national and domestically, and often lead to chaos, a lack of coordination. How do we make sure the interest of our country is actually kept while we welcome global partners, African partners, so we don't actually duplicate efforts at waste time? So maybe address the issue about partnership and collaboration. What does it take to get it right?
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you very much for your kind words. Ibrahim, that's where leadership comes in. If we want to succeed, we must have the right leadership. We must have the right leadership that devises the right strategies and the right policies. It is not for somebody to come in the country and decide that this is the way you are going to do your agriculture, or this is the way you are going to finance it. It is for the country to design its own strategy, its own plan, to create the boxes, and to ask people who want to collaborate to go into those boxes. It is the only way you can coordinate. There is sometimes countries, unfortunately, who become victim of goodwill. You know, people go to support the areas they are interested in. Some will look only at fertilizer, some will look only at seeds, and sometimes it's not only for the benefit of the country. So therefore it is extremely important that the strategies and the policies be defined by the leadership in the country. That's extremely important. Secondly, it is important that the local factor be taken into consideration. Some countries, I give a simple example, will need to promote drought-tolerant seeds, but some other countries are looking for seeds that resist to flood. So local context is extremely important. Also, there are countries like mine where you don't have a farmer who has more than 100 hectares in the whole country. So you don't have big agriculture landowners. So, in addition to the fact that most of the population live in rural area, but you don't have that big agriculture proprietaire terrain. It doesn't exist. So this is also part of the context. So therefore, your policies have to be geared towards what you have in reality on the ground. Smallholder agriculture is the direction for my country. When I came in a context of crisis. October. The next agricultural season is May, June. You know my pedigree is 30 years of agricultural development, IFAD, FAO, etc. So of course my thinking will be always agriculture. So the first thing was, let me think about the agricultural season. And we started looking what is missing. We import 500,000 tons of rice. Okay, rice eaters, morning, noon, evening. Not cassava even. It's rice, basically. So you have to prepare. What do you need? A land that works, that is conducive to producing better yields. Constraint in terms of land tenure, yes, there, but not too much. The problem is making the land produce better, land productive. So fertilizer, advisory, good seeds, but also small tweakings. Very simple. And this is I learned from my experience in the past. You can try. Take a rice producing area. Put small rice mills. I promise you, the next season, your rice production will grow at least by 20%. Right. So, for a country that is in crisis and transition, this is the kind of solution we brought in just to respond. The other aspect is financing. We may come to that discussion later, but you need to make sure that there is resources for people to have access to all those things. Right. But one most important thing, because we are speaking about climate, in my region, people burn and farm. Every year you have new forest you destroy and then you farm. So the only way you can combat that is to mechanize agriculture. To allow people, even if they have only 5 hectares, allow people to have access to plowing through mechanization. Right. So we created mechanization brigade built on the basis of private sector. Loan to young farmers, young engineers coming from school, don't have work, jobs, encourage them, build and set up mechanization brigades, but private, completely private, on loan by the government and pay. So by selling those services, we could start stabilizing people, not to burn and slash, as they call it, I think in English, but repeat to the same place. If you add to that seeds and fertilizer, production went up. And you may have heard that this year, Guinea is the second producer of rice in West Africa, and this is a very, very big jump from where they were before. Just an example. Thank you.
All right. Well, you brought up another point equally important, that's local content. The only way we can actually get it right and make sure that there is a local content so we can think about local solution. I'm going to pick up what you said about resources and go back to the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia. And that is to say, I'm sure as a former Prime Minister, you have so many competing needs to put resources into and attention and focus, and it's not just agriculture. I wonder if you could just share your experience. How do you find the balance between allocating resources to the energy sector, to education, and to food security? And how did you manage actually to do that? I think we'd like to hear your insights. That balance is extremely important.
I think when you come to resource allocation in agriculture, doesn't mean that it's only on the production. Right. We said agriculture is the whole value chain and the whole food system. So it means it also includes rural roads. It also includes health services, because a farmer which is infested by malaria cannot produce. So to me, agriculture is all that. But even with that, we have a continental target by the Malabo Declaration, the CADIP targets. One of it is you have to allocate in the agriculture sector, not other sectors, at least 10% of the annual budget. You know, the budget we allocated in Ethiopia was 17% of the annual budget, which is much more bigger than 10%, the minimum. So that exemplary allocation was much more revolutionized our agriculture. We usually seek something from outside. I think one of the mindsets we have to look into is we have to prioritize in areas where we have to put our money the most. So yes, education, health, infrastructure, all are necessary. But agriculture itself is the basics for all. So we allocated 17% of our budget on average into agriculture. Next, I think we do have a number of big microfinance institutions that are created by the people themselves. And we also try to de-risk the private sector to get into financing this agricultural production. So that is the example which Ethiopia has stood the first, by the way, in the Malabo target by allocating 17%. Most countries are below 10% of their budget.
Right. Well, Mr. Prime Minister, since you have the microphone, just in 30 seconds, because we need to wrap up, if you want us to take away something from this conversation, in 30 seconds, what would it be? What would be your message on food security for Africa?
I think we Africans, we can change things. We have that capacity. We have the young population we have the land resources we have educated scientists. The only thing is our mindset. We have to change that.
All right, and the former Prime Minister from Benin, in a few seconds, what would be the takeaway message from this conversation?
I would build on what the chairman said in terms of allocation of financial resources through the budget, through the microfinance institutions, which are maybe one of the most useful inventions for agriculture, given what is the banking system. I would add another indicator in the allocation of credit by the banking system, how it evolves. The first day I was Prime Minister, discussing with the central banker, I asked, what is the allocation by the private sector, by the private and public banking sector? 2% for agriculture, which is 27% of the GDP. 2%. Following how, by de-risking, by insuring, agriculture today has a lot of shocks because of climate change. Yet it remains insurable. But insurance has not penetrated our agriculture yet. That the government can push. Insure, de-risk for the ratio of credit, be in a situation to go from 2 to 20%. It is essential because agriculture is very capital intensive. I have a farm. I've decided for my 70th anniversary to become a young farmer. I have a farm. The problem is that the equipment of my farm is 3 years of output of my farm, which is capital intensity. And it's true if you have 2 hectares or 100 hectares. It is capital intensive. We cannot consider allocation of credit and equity as marginal. It is central.
Thank you, former Prime Minister of Guinea. In 30 seconds, what would be the takeaway message from this conversation?
Hello? Okay,
yes.
Sorry. Number one, I want us to really make sure that agriculture is local. You need solutions that are local. And you must adapt your policies, your strategies each time at each place in a different way. Secondly, I want to add to this, and you understand that very well, that we need to build the resilience of the farmers. And that resilience, one of the best way, of course, diversification is another one, but is insurance. Right. Because weather, unfortunately, our capability to predict what may happen tomorrow is still limited. We don't have that science to the detail. So, and two levels. One, farm protection, crop. Second, disaster risk management. Right. We have millions of resources out there that can be properly used for that. Right. But specifically, when you have in front of you 70% of your food produced by someone, you need to take care of him. And in Africa, that is the case, is smallholder farmers. Right. And this is why institutions like IFAD and others are trying to work on. And I think we should concentrate on that. You should build on that. Right. Just one thing. Right. Remember, look at agricultural history. Every country, most of the countries that went fast in agriculture, built it, right. went fast on development, overall development, started with agriculture. 5-7% growth over the years, you have a base, and then you jump. Right. Look at India as an example, look at Vietnam, look at others, and that is the way to go. Right. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the wise people have spoken, and they've said something extremely powerful. One, we need to change the mindset, the way we look at agriculture in our country as a business, as opposed to something you do afterthought, so we can actually be part of the solution. Number two, our banking system, the credit that we offer for those who want to get into agriculture, has to work for the sector. We need to innovate and look at banking sectors. And last but not least, we need to build resilience as we protect the most vulnerable people who are affected by climate change. So on that note, give a round of applause to our former heads of government. So thank you very much. I'd like to invite on stage the next moderator for another conversation with other heads of government and state. So give a round of applause as she comes on stage, my dear sister here.
Thank you very much and good morning. We continue with wisdom with the wise. I would like to invite on stage Excellency Dr. Jakaya Kikwete, former President of Tanzania. Please join us on stage. Excellency Jonathan Goodluck, former President of Nigeria. His Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Asane Migaki, currently the AU Special Envoy for Food Systems, but former Prime Minister of Nigeria. Please join us on stage. Thank you very much for your time. We have just 15 minutes to crack it. My name is Lindiwe Majelesibanda. I'm currently the System Board Chair for CGIAR. I'm a Zimbabwean, I'm a farmer, I'm a scientist, but my shoe is always pinching, and where it pinches the most is on policy. We create technologies so that they are taken up by the people we love and serve the most, our smallholder farmers. But most of the time, we don't have a conducive policy environment. You have been the architects. Take us back memory lane. What's your legacy? What is the one policy, instrument, or innovative strategy that you, during your tenure, put in place that was a game changer in making sure that we face climate change and that you move the needle when it comes to food security in your country? Let me start with you, President Jakaya Kikwete. We've been there, we are here. Take us there. What did you do?
One. Only one.
Game changer.
Of course, during my presidency, I gave a lot of focus on agriculture. Really, because of the reality on the ground. First, of course, agriculture employs, we have almost 70 to 75% of our people live in rural areas and they depend on agriculture for their livelihood. But the agriculture they depend on is backward agriculture. Low productivity, low production. So really the question is, how do we transform our agriculture, make it more productive so that there is more production, people's incomes increase, we are assured the country of food security. This has been the main question. Of course, what we started working on has been coming up with the Agricultural Sector Development Program, ASDP. It was meant to address the main constraints to agricultural transformation and agricultural growth in the country. Because we have very short time, I cannot go into the details. This is one of the overarching instruments. And I'm glad now the government is working on ASDP 2. Focus is, what are the main constraints? One, irrigation, seeds, fertilizers, herbicides and pesticides, imparting skills to farmers, looking at the infrastructure to support the agricultural sector, look at financing aspect to support farmers, look at the crop marketing systems, which have also been another program. But of course, in the budget for ASDP, over 60% of it is money dedicated to irrigation. And then, of course, we, as we proceeded, we came to realize that there is little involvement of the private sector in the transformation of Tanzania's agriculture. As President, I've been chairing what we call the Tanzania Business Council. In one of the meetings of the Tanzania Business Council, we discussed with the private sector, what do we do to our agriculture? And all of us agreed. And that's how we came up with the phrase, Kilimo Kwanza.
Yeah.
That agriculture first. All of us. But now we needed to involve the private sector more into the production, but also into the processing, but also into buying from the farmers, and so on and so forth. So we are now completing the value chain. But then we came with the whole issue of food security. We have, fortunately in Tanzania, at that time 4 regions. Later, of course, I made them 6. 4 regions of Iringa, Mbeya, Ruvuma, and Rukwa. These are the food basket. These are the regions where we get all the maize and the rice we consume in the country. So he said, let's put our hand where our mouth is. Special focus to this. That's how we came up with the Southern Agricultural Growth Corridor of Tanzania, SAGCOT. Of course, a major component here has been support farmers, and when you talk about farmers, is smallholder farmers. Because when we came up with SAGCOT, there's been a lot of misinformation, disinformation, that now is going to be land grabbing. You read in the media, the BBC, CNN, or New York Times. Well, it was a total misconception. We were really talking about how to help the smallholder farmer transform its agriculture from subsistence to a thriving business. So that's how we started with SAGCOT. We brought in also, through Kilimo Kwanza, we also involved the private sector. But the aspect of the private sector has been, let there be large-scale farmers, but with smallholder outgrowers. The large-scale farmer supporting the smallholder farmer with the necessary inputs, the technology, the technical assistance, so as to increase productivity. Of course, climate change is a factor. I can say it's real. These days, rainfall is not reliable. When I was growing up, it was by, you know it, that the 15th of March, rains are going to start. The 30th of May, the long rains are going to end. 15th of October, the short rains will start. Mid-December, the rains are going to start. These days, that is not the case. Yep. 3 years ago, I plowed 40 acres. I'm a smallholder farmer.
They don't believe that.
Huh? No, why? No, not because I'm president. It is true I'm a smallholder farmer. I don't have a farm of 500 acres, no. I plowed 40 acres. The rains did not come. I did not plant. And then came the next season. I planted 20 acres. Plowed 20 acres. The rains also did not come. In fact, I bought seeds from Bero Agro. I bought fertilizers ready. We started arguing with my people assisting me in the farm. Let's plant. I said, don't plant. Let's plant. Don't. I said, okay, fine. Let's go continue. Plant only 5 acres. We planted 5 acres. The rains came late. The maize crop got this level. The rains disappeared, and I lost everything. So, climate change is real. We have to invest in research so as to get drought-resistant crops, resistant to pests and diseases. This is what we have done. We invested a lot on research. For the first time, this I'm going to conclude. For the first time, I made it mandatory that we set 1% of the national budget for research. And we spent a lot of this money in agricultural research. Because in the past, the government was not investing on research. It was the donors who were investing on research, and the donors had their own programs of interest, not our programs.
Thank you.
So it is now moving ahead. I think we are seeing some of the results of that.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for taking us to your small farm, bringing to life the risks you are facing. 15 March is gone. 15 October is gone. Climate change is real. But your legacy lives on. Mr. Kilimo Kwanza, Mr. Sagot, Mr. 1% budget for research. Thank you very much. Let's move now to Nigeria. I did say it's hard talk. We've just got 15 minutes. 8 has been taken up. In just 5 minutes exactly. Excellency, Jonathan, good luck. what did you do? What's your legacy? You're going to be Mr. Who when it comes to food systems and climate resilience?
Thank you so much. It's so difficult to really convey to you what we did under such a short time. But let me start by saying, just like the previous panel emphasized on the issue of leadership, especially the former Prime Minister of Guinea said so, I really wanted to revolutionize agriculture in Nigeria. So when I was elected as a president, I decided to look for one of the best in the country, not based on members of my political party. I decided to look for a young, aggressive, innovative, and creative man to drive agriculture. And I got one, Dr. Adesina, who is currently the president of African Development Bank. I did not know him. He was not a member of my party, was not even in the country during the elections. But I wanted the best, and we have no regrets. And that is what I will advise my colleagues who are in offices. If you want to change agriculture, look for a competent person. Through him, we launched what we call Agri Transformation Agenda, ATA. Under that, we did a number of things. But let me quickly mention the GESS program, the Growth Enhancement Support System. In that program, there are quite a number of things, but what I will highlight here is what we call the e-wallet. Before we launched this, in Nigeria government, both federal and state governments sent fertilizers and other agro input, seeds, agrochemicals and others to farmers, but hardly get. People divert it through one means or the other. In some cases, fertilizers are even adulterated with sand. So we decided to launch the e-wallet system to make sure that whether in terms of finance, improved seeds, agrochemicals and others get directly to the farmers. And that was very, very progressive approach. In fact, we launched it in April 2012. By September 2012, 14.3 million farmers keyed into the project. And in fact, after us, that was the first time it was introduced in Africa, but the World Bank escalated it to some African countries, including Asian countries. Because of that aggressive approach, in terms of even financing, we introduced what we call risk. Just to summarize, we share risk with the farmers. Both the government, the central bank share risk with farmers. So banks were able to give more credits to farmers. And of course, we encourage the private sector to get involved in the agricultural value chain. Along that line, there was so much improvement that even in terms of the bank books, before that time, you have only about 0.07% of bank books that lend to agriculture. We improved it by up to 5%. And agri became a key thing because we now changed the tone that agri is not to be pursued as just a rural development program, but a wealth creation program. And therefore, agri must be managed as a business. And so many young people who read engineering, medicine, law, also establishing farms in Nigeria then, through the programs we call agropreneurs. Through that, we were able to improve the food production. And from that 2012 to 2014, the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Food Program awarded Nigeria and recognized us for reducing poverty, people who are living very poor people to 50% based on the MDG Goal 1, and that award was given to us in Rome. So the key thing about agri is innovation, and you must get somebody who's passionate to drive the process. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Lessons from Nigeria. His Excellency said, number one, get the right person. I was going to say man for the job, and none other than Adesina Akin was the driver. Get the inputs right. Use e-wallets and get the banks and private sector on board. Then it happened. That's your legacy, Excellency. Thank you very much. Dr. Meaki, you're still running in the treadmill. You're a big ambassador. You've been with AU NEPAD. You've been Prime Minister. We've only got 4 minutes. Take us forward. reflect. We've had Tanzania, legacy lives on. We've had Nigeria, legacy lives on. But you still can influence. 1 minute backward, one thing you did, but 1 minute, what would you do differently now?
Okay, no, thank you. First of all, the presentation by Your Excellencies, the two presidents, showed how political determination is fundamental. So I will allude to 3 points. And political determination leads to results. Yep. So there is a link which is very, very important there. 3 points. The first one, during my tenure as Prime Minister, one thing what we did was to locate institutionally the the National Adaptation Plan at the Prime Minister's office, so that it could supervise what the other ministries were doing in terms of climate issues. I think the institutional localization is important at the highest level. Now, the second point, which was equally mentioned before, and Prime Minister Haile Mariam mentioned it very well, it's not the what, it's the how which breaks. The what, we could fill this room with all the technical solutions that exist regarding irrigation, regarding quality of inputs, regarding fertilizers, regarding credit mechanism, regarding insurance. We know all the technical solutions. The question is, what are the political solutions which were mentioned here that can help implement the technical solutions? That's really the domain. And in that sense, I think integration is very important. And climate smart agriculture, we're discussing about it, is about managing the interlinkages between food security and climate change. So that has to be solved institutionally, because we are not framed institutionally to tackle multisectorality and interlinkages. So that's, and my last point, it's an important point, and my last point will be about the way policies in the future need to be designed. You know, we are in a continent where 75% of the population is under 25. Median age is 19. Yeah. Europe is 40 years plus. You cannot say to a young African, look, we intend to attain this objective in 2050, 2030. He wants the results tomorrow. So the best way to really get him on board and have stability in terms of governance is to make them part of the creation of a solution. So co-creating the solution, co-creating the policies with the youth is important. And in the youth, evidently, you have women, which is, we say women and you, but it's the concept I want to highlight is co-creating with them. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. What we are hearing is freshness. We've done it in Tanzania, we've done it in Nigeria, we've done it in Niger, but going forward, don't leave behind the youth. Let's co-create the future and the present with them. Let's align our institutions. Excellencies, I have not done justice to your wisdom, but your legacy lives on. Talking about institutions, I'm sure if we had His Excellency from Rwanda, they would say they also did it right. Dr. Agnes Kalibata was hand-lifted to go and lead in agriculture, and the legacy lives on. Thank you very much to my sister Agnes. For us as CGIR, we also realize that leadership is key, and I want to also applaud the new appointment of Dr. Ismahan Elufe, who is taking over as the CEO the managing director of one CGIR across all our centers starting 1 December. So Africa is ready for business. Thank you very much. Thank you.
safari tazama Tanzania tazama Tanzania 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 Tanzania
Tumekwisha kuwasha mwenge,
tumekwisha kuwasha mwenge,
sisi tumekwisha kuwasha mwenge,
tumekwisha kuwasha mwenge,
na kuweka juu ya mlima,
mlima Kilimanjaro.